Hey, Bridget, it's Mike here from Market and Traffic. We had a chat, yes, a few days ago actually, about doing some copy for your website as a stress consultant. And I think we briefly chatted and we discussed you were starting to run some Facebook ads and you're wanting to drive traffic into your funnel, into your landing page, etc. And ideally looking to book more clients. And I did tell you, Bridget, that I will be, open and straightforward with you to the best of my ability because I want to obviously give you some value and also value for myself. And now I did mention that my specialty is copywriting, response copywriting, and specifically I work in with powerlifters, bodybuilders, alpha males, etc. In that arena. So this really isn't my forte in terms of being a stress consultant or understanding the language that you would use or that your clients would use per se. So I'm not sure how much value I can give you there. And I'm not sure how much I can offer in terms of that. But I would like to give you this overview. I think you're going to get some real value from this at least. And like I said, I want to go through your website, your landing page, and you did send me a link to the Facebook side. So I'm going to go through that. So let's jump right in. And I have your website up here on the screen, and I'm just going to walk through this and I'll point some things out as we go. Feel free to, obviously pause the video, take notes if you want, but you can watch it obviously over and over again. And this is obviously going to be private, Bridget. I'm not sharing this with anybody. This is just between you and myself. So I have some notes here I made, and I want to start off with getting clear and obviously consistent messaging. And that's the biggest part of the struggle, obviously, with copywriting and especially being online. And as you know, and I think as you mentioned, Bridget, you want to obviously reach more people in the comfort of their homes, obviously using online video technology, Skype, etc. And one of the biggest things that we struggle with, obviously being online, is believability. And what I mean by that is you obviously have to overcome a number of obstacles, being online, being a consultant, but especially someone in your position where a client or a prospective client not only has to invest money, time, but they also have to invest, obviously, a lot of emotion, right? They obviously have to feel that they can trust you and they can believe you. And that for a lot of people is obviously a huge hurdle, probably more so than the financial or time investment, right? So that's one of the huge things we want to focus in on here, is displaying that trust factor and that believability factor for people. I think is a big thing, especially in your position. So one of the things I think you should key in on with regards to your site and your landing pages and overall in terms of copywriting is keying in on who is it specifically that you help. Okay, so when you think about your avatar, who is the specific? I know you mentioned it's female, a business class woman that is working her way up the ladder, so to speak, juggling family life, personal life with a partner, kids, etc. There's obviously physical, mental health, etc. All these things that your avatar is sort of dealing with. Let's get super clear on that. And also, you obviously want to state that, right? Either on whether this be your home site, your website, but also calling that out on your landing page is going to be key. So calling out who your specific avatar is really key. Next is what problem do you help them with? Okay, one specific problem. I know you obviously do a lot of consulting with many, and you mentioned different stresses and fears and things like that. But what is one specific problem? Maybe the biggest problem, or the most common one at least. What is that? State it clearly. That way, a prospective person coming to your site, coming or looking at your ad, can clearly relate to that and say, "Yeah, that's me. That's who I am." And that way, they can at least get the hook, or you can get the hooks in at least. Next thing that you're going to want to state is obviously to mention is the time frame that they can expect results. That's one thing to mention. Obviously, you need to touch on the cost or investment. Again, that's something that's somewhat subjective. You can, sometimes state a starting investment price. And next is obviously how you deliver that. So those are kind of the general things we want to keep in mind when we're looking at your website in general, your landing page, and your ad. So the next thing I want to touch on, let's start with your webpage here. So I have your webpage up, and I want to kind of briefly run through this because this, again, as your overall copywriting and trying to attract your clients, you want to make sure this is in order as well. So let's kind of briefly go through this. So I really like your color scheme. It's maybe more feminine, which is obviously what you're trying to attract, which is really nice. I like the logo here. I like the menu structure here, which is good. It's nice and clear, logically laid out. That's great. I like the clear, bright picture. That's really good. It's obviously, so I know who I'm dealing with. I can trust you. You're looking right at the camera, which is great. Big smile. You look personable, etc. Couple things I would adjust here. The star, there's somewhat of a background image behind your head. That's really calling out who you are as a person. And again, I'm thinking in terms of I am a prospect. I'm coming to your site. I don't necessarily want to know you as the star. I'm the star. So I am the prospective client. I have a problem. I need help. And what I'm trying to say to you, Bridget, is you should be thinking of how am I going to help? How are you going to help me? So I'd almost want to, I would personally remove the star and put more emphasis and focus on who the prospect is coming to the site. The next thing I would touch on is this in the top left corner here. I know you mentioned that you're doing a lot of online consultations. I'm not sure how many people are calling you directly. Personally, I would remove this section here and either move it to the contact page, move your contact info here and just stick it underneath this contact section, or move it all the way to the bottom of the page. I just feel like this is valuable real estate above the fold, and you've done a good job of doing that. As you know, this information is above the fold of the site, but this is valuable real estate, and I would rather see a impact statement or a statement or keywords at least that call out again who this person is, who is the prospect that are coming to your site. Now let's touch on the big call to action here, if you will, or the big benefit. Again, I think this is obviously going to need some work. It's a little vague. It's not very specific. One thing to keep in mind is when prospects are coming to you or you're coming to your site, whether by search or by accident or by Facebook ad, whatever they're coming, their first thing is obviously what's in it for me, right? They're not thinking about you. And they're really not wanting to do a lot of work, if that makes sense. They're really not, as you know, people are lazy in general. They want to try and do as little work as possible. And having to take a quiz right off the bat, I'm not personally certain that is probably the best thing. I'd probably want to see something that addresses their most or their biggest fear or their biggest pain. What's one thing, again, we talk about believability. Bridget, what's one thing that you can share with me that will convince me that you're the right person to help me? What's one thing that you can give me to help me out a little bit? Again, I'm not asking or I'm not expecting as a prospect for you to solve all my world's problems in 20 minutes or a 20-minute conversation or an hour conversation. But what's one thing that you can give me? Is there maybe a technique that you can give me that I can try? Is there a guidebook that you can give me? Maybe there's a checklist that you can give me. Is there something that you can give me? What is it that you can give me to help me believe you? Bridget, I think if you can do that, demonstrating how you can help somebody, especially in a short period of time, by giving a stranger something, will do wonders for you, I think, in terms of overcoming the believability and gaining trust. And I think that's one thing that you could definitely work on. So again, I would call out, who is your target prospect? So I help, business class women that are feeling overwhelmed and underloved or something like that. Obviously, it needs some some refinement, but call that person out and state what is their biggest pain and fear and how you can help with it. So next, sorry, if we scroll down here, the next section under the fold is ways to work with me. I like this section here, ways to work with me. You obviously clearly state the 3 things you do, which is great. You help by consultations, speaking, and books. Those are your 3 big things. What I don't agree with is having this directly underneath here. Again, as a prospect, I'm thinking how, first of all, you didn't call me out in terms of who I am, and you didn't kind of stir the pot in terms of the pains that I'm feeling. And I notice down here you have some more text in terms of, again, what you are or who you are as a person. You say, I'm passionate about helping people thriving, overcoming emotional challenges, etc. So it's telling me more about you than it is about me, if that makes sense. So what I would suggest is probably sliding this down and putting in a section here of, again, calling out the person who you're trying to help with and speaking directly to them. Let's see what else here. A little testimonial here. That's good. Media appearances is really good for credibility, social proof. It just shows that you're working and you're active. That's really great. And then you have a call to action with a sign up for your page here. So again, overall, Bridget, it's pretty good in terms of your homepage. But like I said, the biggest issue I see here is this action here, this call to action in terms of who it is and who you're trying to help. I think that could be refined, and I would suggest maybe removing that and trying a different angle. In terms of the about page, what I would like to see here, just waiting for it to load. This is great. You definitely clearly communicate your story in terms of your background and who you are and the struggles that you've been through, and how you've been able to overcome them, etc. But what again, when I read through it, what I don't clearly see is about the prospect. Again, what I would want to see is actually is a section that's called about you, or about you as the prospect, and then have a section about yourself as Bridget, if that makes sense. So again, a section that says about you, and then a section that says about me as Bridget. So again, that way you're speaking clearly to the person. In terms of the store, let's take a quick look. I like the layout of the products is good. There's clear images. There's the titles are clear. The investment of the price is clear. The one thing I have an issue with, obviously, here is this section here is obviously too chunked up. It's too much of a block of text. So I really would really work on stripping that down to its bare minimum, and spacing it out, obviously, and kind of telling people, maybe leading people in and saying, if you have this XYZ issue, here's my suggestion. Or one of the things you really want to call out is be more specific in terms of how, let's say, for example, this product here would help certain people. So for example, this product here, Stress Gone, is suitable for people that are suffering from XYZ. And this product here is suitable or recommend for people suffering XYZ. I think that would go, a little bit more helpful in terms of directing people to knowing what to do. In all things on the web, you really need to lead people by the hand and tell them exactly what to do. I know it's kind of redundant. It might seem self-explanatory, but you really do need to lead people by the hand, and definitely do that here. But I like this overall. I think you mentioned you're going to hide some of these things so that they're more, a different level of service, if you will, maybe a premium service. But these things look okay here. Let's go over to the media site, the media section. Again, I think this is just a section talking about some of the things that you've that you've worked with, some of the companies and the publications that you've done. Again, this is great for social proof. This is really, really good here. Contact page. Let's type on the contact page. Again, so it kind of briefly describes what you're going to receive as the consultation. Has a clear form here: name, phone number, email address, message, and a nice picture there. Again, what I would like to see, Bridget, is a call to action. I'd maybe kind of tighten this up a little bit, and again, kind of speak to people, kind of speak to their main desire, their main what is it exactly that they're trying to resolve, and use something maybe from a testimonial or a previous client that you've worked with in terms of calling that out and saying, don't delay, book now for your free consultation. So going back here, Bridget, let's go back to the home page real quick and see. Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do is take a look at let's take a look at the Facebook ad. And let me just zoom on that for you and we will start here. So this is the ad that you had sent me, and it says, so he has your, the name of your business page. Just as an FYI, the image here that's under here, I would personally rather see a bigger, larger image of just yourself. I know it almost looks like a cropped article from maybe an image or a web or a magazine. And it has a lot of text, I guess, on the side. It just looks a little bit cluttered. I'd rather just have one clear picture of just yourself, even from just like the images you had on your page, on your homepage. Okay, so Bridget, when I read through this ad copy here, a couple things stand out. And I'm just going to come down to this section here. Okay, so let's say that this is the length of the ad. I don't know if I could see this on one page. Okay, so this is a full screen. I have to read basically down to this point here, actually further down, even here. So from here to here, so from top to almost 3/4 of the way down, the ad is talking all about Bridget. And again, keeping in mind where we are on Facebook, and people are getting distracted. Very short attention spans, as you know, as you've heard this all before. People, first of all, you're not hooking them in. This story, again, 3/4 of the story is about you, and then you mentioned that you can help resolve. You can help resolve their issues. Let's chat and book. You're essentially calling them action to book a 20-minute consultation. So, and I know you mentioned that you were struggling with conversions on this ad. So my biggest takeaway from this is, one, 3/4 of the ad is talking about you. It's not talking about the actual person. So I'm going to share with you a structure that I think you can use to help improve your Facebook ads. So the structure is essentially start right off with jumping right into the story. And let me give you an example of that. So you could start off maybe by saying, I just got off the phone with Mary. Mary's a client of mine, and what Mary shared with me really broke my heart, et cetera, et cetera. And then you kind of lead into Mary was struggling with this and that and this and that. And so again, you're focusing the story not on you, but on a real client. And that is more relatable to a prospect or a person reading an ad. They really don't want to read about you. They want to read about themselves. They want to feel that they are being spoken to directly. And so I would jump right into the story, calling them out and almost immersing yourself in a consultative process that you go through with a client. So I would clearly state, Bridget, the first thing I would state is, what isn't working? So you say, Mary has tried X, Y, and Z. And then you would state, it's causing this pain, X, Y, Z. So again, you start off, what isn't working? Okay. Then you jump into the pain that it's causing her. Okay. Then you'd state the solution or a possible solution. Okay. Then you really want to key in on is the future, Mary's future with your solution, right? So how does your services address Mary's solution. And again, we don't want to keep this too long. We want to keep it concise, but you want to frame your solution as the as the solution for Mary's issues, and then finally end off with a call to action. So again, Bridget, just to recap, a good Facebook ad structure would be to state what isn't working. Okay, so Mary has tried this XYZ, and it hasn't worked for her. She still continues to struggle, et cetera, et cetera. The pain that it's causing her, okay, it's causing her, emotional stress, financial stress, physical stress. Her body's breaking down. She's not sleeping properly. She's not in a good relationship with her partner. Her kids are suffering, neglect, those sort of things. Okay, the type of pains that people are going through. Briefly mention the solution. You don't want to go into detail about the solution itself, but you want to call it out. And again, frame, Mary had a turnaround when she contacted me, and we were able to work through her problem, et cetera, et cetera. And then, then finish off with the call to action. Now, again, I know you mentioned the 20-minute consult. This is something you could, I would adjust this, or at least have an alternate add to this. And rather than having the 20-minute consult, Bridget, I would maybe lead into a lead magnet that, again, one problem that Mary has, and here's one solution that Mary could try out to fix that problem. So rather than booking a 20-minute consult, which I think for some people, may be a little bit much in terms of an ask, in terms of getting them in, I think you might have some more success maybe if you were to lead off with a lead magnet that would kind of get them, exposed to you, exposed to your style, etc. Now, having said that, again, the image, image is obviously subjective. You can try different images, but I'm more so concerned with the ad copy itself in terms of not calling out the prospect and not mentioning or not describing the pains and the struggles that they're going through. And again, then obviously it's something you have to be careful with Facebook is, again, I don't proclaim to be a Facebook ads expert, Bridget, but I do know that they have pretty stringent policies on, things you can say, things you can't say, types of topics that you can discuss, etc. Which is a whole conversation in and of itself, because you're obviously somewhat limited on their platform. It is Facebook's platform. It's not your platform, as we all know. So now, one thing I think we discussed briefly was some people there's two opinions in terms of ad copy. Okay. Some people are of the mindset that long form ad copy works well on Facebook. Some people are of the mindset that short ad copy works better. What I'm personally seeing, and what you've obviously noticed, is that copywriters are taking what we used to call direct or long form sales pages and essentially transforming them into Facebook. I personally believe that that's not the best use of this type of copy. Reason being, again, people are on Facebook to have fun. They're there just to kind of drown their sorrows, if you will, as you know, right? They're just to take their mind off the day's stress, to just kind of unwind. To ask somebody to sit and read a long form sales page in Facebook is at a big ask. Your targeting obviously needs to be on point. Your messaging needs to really, really be on point. And it really has to really, really hook them in. And I think it's a big ask to do that. What I would personally rather see is a shorter ad copy, again, with that would benefit, or which would offer something to the viewer that is not so much of a commitment, like a 20-minute consult. Again, that might be a little bit much for most people. So let's take a quick look at your landing page, Bridget. So this is your landing page here. Again, it's nice clean background. Couple things I will mention here. It's a bit long for a landing page, especially from a Facebook ad. So a couple things I'll touch on here is I would personally remove everything below the fold for a landing page, especially from Facebook. Again, keep it easy, keep it simple for people. I think you're going to find more conversions with that. So I would personally axe or delete everything underneath here. all of this stuff down here, all the way down to the bottom here. One thing you'd want to make sure of is your privacy and policy. This needs to be a link, because Facebook is tight on having their terms and conditions and a privacy statement. So make sure that's linkable. But again, I would cut out everything below here, and just focus on the landing page. Now, you have a good statement here. You're asking, again, you're trying to call out, you're trying to identify with the prospect, which is really good. Are you or a loved one that's struggling with? And I would personally remove the comma. It kind of throws people off. And then you list a number of stress, trauma, depression, etc. Personally, again, I would try and keep it simple and clear. So I would focus in on one of these, whichever one you feel is the biggest one that people are dealing with. Let's say it's stress. So are you, and I would remove loved one, because now you're talking to two people. You're talking about me and a loved one. Well, I'm not so concerned with my loved one. I'm more concerned with myself as a prospect. So get rid of loved one. And I would just say, are you struggling with so much stress that it's affecting your love life? Or are you struggling with so much depression that it's keeping you inside all day, or something like that? You get the idea. You want to focus in on one person, their major issue, one of these, and how it's affecting them, or what is it prohibiting them from doing. Okay, that would be your call to action statement here, and make that really large. I would make that really big across here. This here, bridge is successful. Again, you're talking more about yourself here. I would get rid of this statement here. Again, for a landing page, not necessary to have this information here. This statement here, I would personally remove this too. What you'd want to keep, again, so remove this here. I would rather have a statement that says how you can benefit by entering your information here. Okay. So the question you got to ask yourself is, if I enter my information here, okay, what am I going to get? And that's what you want to state right here in one clean, crisp sentence. I would only make it one sentence. So again, tell me exactly how I'm going to benefit by filling out my information. So you will, by filling out this form, you will receive a quick guide on how to relieve stress, or a quick guide on how to relieve addiction, or something like that. You get the idea, but keep it clean and crisp, and just have it one nice statement there. The consultation form you have, again, if you're going to do the consultation form, full name, email address, mobile number, service required. Okay. Again, as you know, on a form, when you're asking, the more information you ask for, again, it's a double-edged sword. The more information you ask is the least signups you're going to get. But the less information is the more signups you'll get, and you obviously want more quality. So this is, again, something you might have to play with. You might have to maybe just reduce these to, again, if you're not going to go with the 20-minute consultation off the bat, what I would suggest, Bridget, maybe is to try a funnel that, again, leads from the ad to the landing page with one clear statement of that, stating their problem or pain, state their major pain here, then state the major way that you can assist with that pain or relieve their pain by entering in their information to get a gift or a freebie. Okay. So again, you would just ask for I would just put their first name, not the full name. Some people are not comfortable leaving their full name. Again, we're talking about believability. So just leave your first name and the email address, apply now. And then in the email sequence, give them obviously the freebie, give them the solution to their quick issue or a quick thing that they can, experience your services by, and then follow that up with a call of, you've received my download, you've received my gift. Would you be open to getting on a 20-minute consultation free of charge, and I can address more of your issues and I can help you, et cetera, and go on from there. So Bridget, that's kind of it in a nutshell in terms of, again, we touch on your webpage, we touch on your landing page. that's kind of it. That's all the notes that I have. I will say, if you have any questions on this video, just please let me know. I'll try to respond as much best as I can. As I said, I'm not too comfortable in this market in terms of stress consultation, etc. I'm not too familiar with the type of clientele or the messaging that would go with it, but I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions at all, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Take care, Bridget.